Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cure for the Common Game. Today, we're going to talk about mono blue sphinxes as a tribe. Yeah, not a particularly strong tribe, I know. And what was it? A couple videos ago, I did a white blue tribal sphinx. So there's going to be a great amount of overlap here. I love his ability, though. Obviously, sphinxes costing 2 less actually makes them, not a horrific tribe. And whenever you cast a Sphinx, or well, a Sphinx enters the battlefield, I guess there's some blink shenanigans there that is I don't really have in here because it's a lot of white in blink. But anyway, you get to kind of almost factor fiction. So I went with Sphinxes. We'll roll through the tribe real quick. Won't spend a lot of time because there is another Sphinx in Hour of Devastation, by the way, and I don't have him in here because he's like a cycle discard thing, and I don't really have anything that cycles or discards besides like the blue land. So, meh, I didn't feel like that was a real thing I needed to do. Chancellor of the Spires. That's one thing about Sphinxes. There are a lot of words on Sphinxes. I mean, as far as, we've got this guy who is damn near vanilla. He's about the most French vanilla thing that we've got. Sphinx, which, as you all know, is the color shifted Sarah Angel that they did in Planar Chaos. Bell Tower Sphinx. Sharding Sphinx being the only artifact creature, I say that. Yeah, that's it. You get the Thopters if, whatever. If you get it, you get it. If not, I mean, it is a multiplier. You can go wide and aggro, but it's kind of hard for me to be planning on, an aggro Sphinx mono blue deck. It's a mouthful. Horizon Scholar. I'll hammer it. Argent Sphinx. You probably will have Metalcraft. We'll get to the artifacts here in a minute, because, yeah. Draw a card and put a counter on him. This is, it's so good because it's 6. If you got Unesh, you're talking paying 4 mana for this guy. And his ability's all upside. 3 mana colon, draw a card, and he gets bigger. I love the Conundrum, Prognostic, Ambassador, Guardian of Tazi, Landfall. And, that land is just about always going to be an island. We got a few non-basics, but pretty good. Arbiter of the Ideal. I guess here again, it's kind of a... You're going to get the double stack, you're going to get Factor Fiction for 5, and then you're going to get to do it for 4, or however you stack it. Yeah. Sphinx of Jaral. Last night this was played against me, and I am telling you what, 5/5 flying shrouds are no joke. Curator of Mysteries. Oh, I'm sorry. There's our one cycling card, I guess. No, I'm not playing with that other guy. The Glyph Keeper, Master of Predicaments, and okay, so that's the tribe. Now, we got to get this tribe out there pretty quick. So we got to have a little bit of mana ramp. Y'all know I've got a Soul Ring. I consider the Incubator a mana ramp. I don't really use the Incubator a lot, well, mainly because I don't have a lot, but the on the more expensive tribes, like, you don't put this in Goblin or Elves or, Slivers or whatever, because you just don't. All that stuff's so cheap anyway. But in Sphinxes, they're all a little on the hefty mana side, so the Prismatic Lens, Sisay's Ring. You know how you can tell a card's good? I know y'all have heard this before. When you quadruple the cost of Soul Ring and people still play it. Paradise Plume is not horrible. It's not great. but it is a mana rock. Helps out the 1 or 2 cards you got for Metalcraft. It's colored mana, so that's a big Fractured Power Stone. Y'all know why there, because the Plane Chase thing came out, and now a lot of people are actually wanting to play Plane Chase. So I don't know, I bought 30 or 40 of these, and there's a lot of decks that just need a little bit of ramp anyway. So I'm running it, but because it may matter, and it has the diamond on there. Utilities: Spellbook, the Cane. Proteus Staff is beautiful for now. I have complained about that last line forever. A sorcery speed activated ability just upsets me. I would love to be able to do this in the middle of combat. Of course, hell, I guess we all would. And I'm betting that's why they didn't, because they make cards for 2-player, and that would be sick. But you can trade in your guy. A lot of times, I use Proteus Staff on my opponent, but one of the bigger uses for it in a non-combo deck, I have combo decks where I just quadruple my life every turn, but is the white enchantments, the pacifism style enchantments are a thing. Now they're slowly getting replaced with the Oblivion Ring style enchantments, but a lot of they're tacking on that O-ring ability to a lot of creatures now, so you can just tuck their creature if you just got to have yours and risk whatever is coming out. But anyway, this way you don't have a max hand size. Kevnet's Monument. Your creatures cost 1 less. I'm already in right there. And then when you cast a creature, yeah. Oracle's Vault. It's not bad. It's not bad. I'll whiff 3 times just to get that ability. That last one. Obelisk of Erd. Meh. Makes your team a little bit bigger. Now, I threw this Jace in there simply because he's the Fact or Fiction Jace. It's not that we really need him. It's whatever. Ley Line of Anticipation, of course, that was kind of an early pick for me because I thought, Sphinx having Flash, I can get behind that. That seems very flavorful. Running War Tax because I'm out of propagandas. And War Tax is really good. I mean, their decks, I use both. If you're doing nothing, now, you're probably not going to activate this every single turn, but there's always that one player at the table who has more or bigger or better stuff than everybody else. At any given time in any game, there's somebody who is the threat. And if they have gone wide with a lot of small dudes, it don't take a ton of mana for this. You can pump 3 or 4 mana into it and say, all right, you got to spend 3 mana for each creature that attacks me. And that's going to keep a Horde Swarm off of your back for a little while. Sunken City, because it was the first all-blue creatures game 1/1. Yeah, you got to pay the double blue. It's not... I don't know that I've seen this card in play that I haven't cast it in 20 years. Yeah. Washout. Now, here again, this is why the ley line is so awesome, is because washing out at instant speed just feels like you've, broken all kinds of rules. Now, doing it in the middle of combat, yeah, I'm going to choose black, put all them zombies back. All your soldier tokens go bye-bye. Bye-bye, elves. Anyway, the color, not the type, but y'all know I'm obsessed with tribes right now, evidently. Drain Power. I love it. You can actually get explosively big. Now, this is not an early game card. It's not. It has 2 mana, but you're not casting this on turn 2. You don't want to do it. this is your, I've got 3 or 4 cards I want to play this turn. They're all crazy expensive. Hey, that guy's got a whole lot of untapped mana. Of course, in theory, even if you get more than 2, you've come out. But more than likely, you're going to want to do this on that player who just got mana flooded. Y'all know what happens. It's just the mana system. It's how it works. And who just got flooded, and they've got 15 untapped lands, and you just want to go wild on your turn because, your high tide wasn't enough. But running the Time Warp and the Ponder, let's talk about. Now, I'm running Fact or Fiction because I tried to get all the versions of Fact or Fiction. I call that ability Fact or Fiction simply because this was the first card that did it. FYI, this is one of the scarier Jace pictures. I mean, they could have almost put this on a black card because if you take the border off and just look at the art, I don't want this coming at me. Redirect's another one of those. No, I think I'm going to get those zombies or I'm going to gain that life. Deluge. What? Now, our whole team's unaffected. So, yeah, this is a sick rip off the top. You're going to tap and more than likely you're going to do this definitely before they go to their combat step during their upkeep and just you're going to tap out that. The beautiful part is it taps Reachers. So anyway, Impulse. We play with Impulse a lot. Y'all seen it in a lot of decks, but I don't know that I've ever discussed the misprint on the original Impulse. The Visions Impulse, I'm not exactly certain why they did it. The later printings and the Oracle text, they took off that last line. Because even then, I opened and I was reading it. You look at the top 4 cards of your library, put one of them in your hand, the rest on the bottom of your library, shuffle your library after. Then where does it matter what I put them? Why they got to be on the bottom if I'm shuffling? The shuffle your library was not supposed to be on there. So it does confuse a lot of players when they see an older Impulse. I'm glad they've actually reprinted it and left that line off. But it was a common, so I have an amazing amount of them. So I'm still using the Visions ones. Anyway, a little Magic history. They weren't always perfect, but one thing that Wizards does, they have a policy of if they realize the misprint, they will not stop the press and fix it. Because they realize they are making a collectible item and they do not want to make something hyper collectible for not an unintended purpose. Mangled that wording, but y'all know what I mean. They don't want to create a super rare version because, back in the day, there was this thing called Summer Magic, and yeah. Anyway, so a lot of their misprints are every single card. Like there's a blue revised card that has a green background, and every single one of them's that way because they used the wrong art and the wrong border, and it was so bad back then. However bad you think it is now, it was worse then because there was no set rules. You could have a judge rule one way and him be right, and then the next tournament you could have another judge rule a different way, and you know what? He would be right too. Of course, way back in the day, only way to get a call, because there wasn't a lot of judges yet, was to call the 800 number in the player book that you got with your starter deck and talk to Bethmo. Beth Mornson was the original rules god, and she was amazing. Beth Mornson was her name. Her word was final. And nobody, Richard Garfield listened to her. Anyway, enough. Hour of Need. I've got this in there simply because it makes Sphinx tokens. Why not? Ovenize is, hell, I have it in there because it gets rid of Indestructible. We don't have any board wipes in this deck, but you kind of depend on other players to have board wipes. Why not? Because everybody's got them. So somebody's got a board wipe, you can respond by, especially if it's the player who has the Avacyn, and she's like, oh, look, I'm going to blow everything up. My stuff's not going to, oh, I have a sheep. Anyway, the rest of what I have is counter magic. It is just straight, because y'all know I don't use a lot of counter magic unless the deck actually calls for it, and I believe that tribal sphinxes would. So it's kind of one of those things that I felt like it did feel right, so used a little bit. And let's face it, we're not talking an incredibly strong tribe here, so we need all the help we can get. Now the last counter spell is Nyx. A lot of people don't play Nyx. Let's see if we can't clear that up. Yeah, it is 1 mana. Counter spell if no mana was spent to play it. Now, there's a lot of... It's not as useless as it looks. It looks pretty damn useless. This against anything Jorah has. This against the Jorah deck is amazing. You've got a lot of 0 drops out there that matter. You have... I mean, there's a lot of stuff that it could potentially work. More importantly, there is no better feeling in this world if somebody force wills you and you nix that shit. It's a great feeling. Anyway, that's what I've got for Unesh. I do appreciate you watching. I got a couple of more. I think I got 5 of the 7. Going to work and try to trade on some of the others. I do appreciate you watching, but right now we're going to shuffle and cut.